Thank you for joining us today for shining the light on our community where we have a very special guest, very, very, very special. Something that we're going to be talking about, something that is really relevant in today's society. And I just want to thank Krys for coming to talk about, we're to being people pleasers. There's so many, Krys, so many in a generalization where people, including myself as I was growing up, you know, being a people pleaser. And instead, we're going to share on how we can start thriving in a life that we love. I love that. Really love that. So, thank you ever so much for joining us. Just let me introduce you so all our beautiful listeners can get to know you a little bit, just a little bit, because then I want to have a conversation. So in 2003, right, Krys was living what many would call a good life. Okay, you were in your 10th year as a career as a police officer. And as far as anyone was concerned, you were very successful. And then a car crash woke you up. Love to go into that. Okay. And so, Krys, let me ask you, because you've gone from being a police officer, a very successful police officer, to now a mindset coach and to helping women to overcome being the people pleaser. So first of all, I said thank you for joining us. I really am honoured to talk to you today. Really, really, really honoured. And one of the reasons why I love these conversations is we get to know you as a person. So just tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you went from being a police officer, going through that car crash, and then becoming a mindset coach now.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to share my message with your incredibly large community. So yes, I wasn't in my career as a police officer and everything was going smoothly. I had all the trappings of success, those things that keep us in our career because we're afraid to lose them. And one night I was involved in an investigation. I ended up being in a pursuit, and I went on a bridge that had black ice. Now, I don't know if living in Australia, you have any idea what black ice is. In any event, I lost control of my car, and it was a very dynamic, very violent crash. My car remained in motion for some time, and I knew that I was on a bridge and I knew I could flip over onto the railway tracks, and I knew I might not survive. And rather than being afraid of death, what I felt was an incredible sadness, because in that moment, as my life did flash before my eyes, I realized how many dreams I had ignored and left to collect dust on a shelf. I realized how I had been living my life as a people pleaser, always trying to live up to the expectations of others, feeling selfish if I thought I would, put myself first. And I think that's very much to do with conditioning. I had to accept that it had nothing to do with any defect in me as a person. That with time, I realized this was conditioning. And in that moment, I vowed to myself that I was going to, if I survived, I was going to make the changes that needed to be made, and so that I could start really actually enjoying life. Clearly, I survived the crash. My car finally stopped moving when it went head on into a concrete pillar. I was never so happy to see a concrete pillar. And it took me quite some time. It was 15 months before I could actually go back to work. And I remember walking back into the office that first day, walking in and putting on my uniform, and my heart just sinking, because I realized I had stepped back into that life that I had vowed I was done with. And it was now time to make good on the promise I had made myself. But being a type A personality back then, I believed that asking for help was a sign of weakness. So I thought I had to find all the answers myself. And it took me some time. It was trial and error. I went to all the workshops, I read all the books, I took all the courses, and I got a few nuggets here and there. But by and large, I found all those resources to be fluff, because they all gave me permission to dream, but not one of them showed me how to bring my dreams into reality. And it was when I took a step back and I saw how those nuggets, apparently random nuggets, could actually fit together into a process for change. And when I started implementing that process, that's when things started changing for me. It was still years because I was doing it myself. It was trial and error, made a lot of mistakes, took a lot of wrong turns, experienced a lot of heartache. But at the end of the day, I persisted. And at the end of the day, I was really clear on who I was, what I stood for, what my purpose was. And the day finally came where I realized that my career choice was incompatible with who I was. And 12 years ago, I walked out of the office. I was the only one who knew I was never coming back. And I never did. A lot of other things were happening at the time and things sorted out. But when the dust settled, that I was done. And that's when I started pursuing this new career of coaching. Got certified as a life coach, and the life coaching certification gave me the tools, but everything I bring into coaching is everything I've learned as a police officer, my observations of human behavior. I'm fascinated by human behavior. I've always studied human behavior. My degree in criminology focused a lot on psychology, and it's just brought everything together so that I can live my purpose, which is to make people feel seen, heard, and valued, that they matter and that their life matters. And that is the objective of my coaching practice.
I like that. I really like that, and I just want to honour you for doing that, to help people be seen and heard, and that to realise that they matter. There's so many people in our world that don't realise that they do, that don't even think that they matter, that they belong here. So just want to honour you, just take them, and really, I can feel that in my heart. So I really thank you for sharing that with our community and with the world, and for following your purpose. It's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So can I ask you, especially women, but all people, both men and women, tend to be people pleasers, right? Until we develop our own boundaries and our own things. But why do you think we do? Why are we people pleasers? And how can we overcome being a people pleaser?
I think we are conditioned to be people pleasers from the moment of our birth. Think about it. You're born and you're so dependent. As babies, as infants, we're so dependent on the caregivers. And they start teaching us from the moment of our birth what we need to do to make them love us and accept us and nurture us. And they're basically giving us rules of the game. They're not doing it because they're evil. There's no ill intent, but it's a reality. We depend on them, and we have to make sure that they like us from the moment of our birth.
Yes.
We start growing up. We want friends. I don't know what happens in your part of the world, but I remember in my childhood, if you want to be my friend, then you have to do blah, blah, blah. We set rules. We end up in school. If you want to be a good girl or a good boy, you have to play by our rules and do it our way. This is conditioning that happens from the moment we take our first breath. It has nothing, there's no reflection on our character, on our value as the person. It's not a reflection on any evil intent on the part of our caregivers. But by the time we're 6 years old, 7 years old, depends on the school of thought, of psychology or human behavior, those neural pathways are so ingrained. They're unconscious. We do it automatically. And we are rewarded by people for showing up the way they want us to be. And we are pack animals. Our biggest fear is fear of rejection. Rejection to us means death. But today, being rejected by my neighbor or whatever, I'm not going to die. But that's how we are wired to respond.
Yes, and especially as children. For children,
Absolutely.
that's a big thing of being rejected there. So yeah, so you learn to do whatever it takes to be accepted and approved of, and to have, and to have care or friends or whatever, depending on what age you
And
are.
what's really crazy making is that everybody wants something different. Our parents want us to show up one way. Our schools want to show up one way. Our peers want us to show up one way. Our employers want us to show up one way. It's crazy making, and we become these chameleons, show up the way I think you want. We're always trying to mind read and be one step ahead of the game. And it's crazy making. And it's a horrible way to live.
Yes, no wonder it is a crazy world, and really, and as a child, it is so challenging in today's world. And as you're saying, those neuro pathways get cemented at a very young age,
Oh,
and they
yes.
and can affect us our whole life if we're not aware of them. Of the things that we do, which started out in childhood, which, as you say, no one's to blame. It is just part of life.
Of
That
life.
it's just part of growing up and things like that. But then what can we do as we grow, get older, and, around midlife and things like that? What can we do to really, start pleasing ourselves, and to realize that, we've spent our whole life pleasing others. We've spent our whole life trying to conform, as you're saying, to parents, to teachers, to friends, to work, to everything else, that we're actually trying to be other people than ourselves. So what can we do to overcome that?
Well, first of all, I believe that we all have a life purpose. And I believe that purpose is to share our unique gifts with the world for the benefit of all.
Yes.
I believe that we all have a depth of inner wisdom and strength beyond our wildest imagination. In order to feel fulfilled, we need to know our purpose. We each have one. And by living our purpose, we are true to our heart. Know your purpose and know what your ideal life looks like if you're going to honor that purpose. So the first piece is to have a vision of the life that would honor who you are at your core. The next step is to identify and debunk the beliefs that keep us in that people-pleasing mode. We're doing it because we have certain beliefs, we have a certain mindset of our place in the world, the rules of the world, and most of them, while they may have been useful at some point in our childhood, they no longer apply to our reality today as competent adults. So identify those beliefs, debunk them. And the third step is carve a path to the life that you want to live. And that's a step-by-step process. I do not believe in blowing up the life you now have. I don't think that's a realistic expectation, a realistic dream. Once you have your vision and you know your beliefs, find the one thing that would have the biggest bang for your buck as far as a change goes. And then implement a step-by-step plan to get that first success. Because what happens is you get success once and you get there and it's, okay, well, I've done this. What's next? What's next? So may I tell you a story? Take a moment to tell you a story.
Yes, please.
That one of the first dream, once I started implementing this process, the first dream that I dusted off and brought to reality was my dream to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I had dreamt of doing Kili for 25 years. I saw it in 1980. 25 years I dreamed of doing it. But my beliefs were, no, you can't. Who are you? That's not who you are. And in 1 second, I decided, yes, I can do this. Like, it was just a pivot. And a year after I went back to work after my collision, I was on the top of Kili. Well, once I was on the top of that mountain, I was, well, I've done this. What next can I do? I trekked 150 kilometers across the Himalayas, another dream of mine. I went to Mongolia, Western Mongolia, to see the total eclipse of the sun. Once you have one success built, and you know what? Mine was Kilimanjaro. That's the type of person I am. We all have a Kilimanjaro. What is your Kilimanjaro? What is your Kilimanjaro? Hike your mountain, storm that mountain, and then see what happens.
Isn't that wonderful? So, and congratulations. It must have been very, a wonderful experience and feeling when you did get to the top and stuff, that you're really able to fulfill that dream, that purpose, to make it happen, and to know that you can do this. Especially after 25 years of saying no, and it's like, yeah, it's just.
And nothing had changed. I was still the same person. Inside, deep inside. But I was showing up differently. And it was that in that moment when my car was careening down that bridge deck, out of control, that's what I was thinking of. That was my biggest regret, was that I had never climbed Kili, that I had been a people pleaser. I had said no to all the amazingly wonderful things this world has to offer us. And Kili was my first dream. And I don't care what your mountain is. We all have a mountain.
We all have it, and it's wonderful. And even climbing a mountain, whatever how big it is, it's just one step at a time.
It's all one step at a time.
So
absolutely wonderful. And that's why it's important to have a plan that's in such small steps. On that last day when we went to the top of to the summit of Kili, where the oxygen, there's low in oxygen, and it's hard. It's really hard. And when life gets hard, that's all you can do. As long as the toes of one boot, were 6 inches ahead of the toes of the other boot, I knew I was still going in the same direction. And that's a metaphor for life. Yes. Life is going to be hard. I don't believe in unicorns and rainbows. That's not what life is.
No. Yeah, it would be.
Yeah,
I was going to say it would be it would be beautiful, unicorns and rainbows, but it would also be boring.
I absolutely agree with you. We are built to thrive when we're challenged.
Yes.
I believe that's when the best of humanity comes out.
It does. I mean, we don't grow if we don't have any challenges.
No.
I mean, I can't really imagine living a life where there's no growth. There's nothing to become, to stepping into the person that we're meant to be, to stepping into that power, to become, I don't want to use the word better, but each day, we have this thing in our community that, it's just a 1% improvement each day. Just a 1% improvement.
Yeah.
If I can improve my life 1%, if I can take a 1% step from yesterday, yeah. And like you, I don't mind challenges, because you learn from challenges. So thank you for sharing that.
For sure. And what I'm learning is that a lot of this, because those beliefs and those behavior patterns are so ingrained, they never get extinguished, but you get so much better at identifying them and at saying, you know what, belief, I don't need this right now. I know you're there, but I'm going to put you aside and I'm just going to do what I want to do anyway. We get so much better with the right tools at dealing with life's challenges.
Absolutely. So thank you ever so much for sharing that. Now we do have some people watching us, which is wonderful. Thank you. I'm here talking to the beautiful Krys about thriving, how we can stop pleasing other people, and stop trying to live other people's lives. We spend so much of our time conforming to what we think other people think that we need to be. but to start thriving in a life that we love. So if you've got any questions, any comments, please put them in the comments and we will get to them. We'll also be putting all of Krys's links in the comments as soon as we have finished. So Krys, tell me now, first of all, you are a life coach, and I'm assuming now in this age of technology you can work with anyone no matter where they are in the world?
Yes. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. No one has to travel anywhere. In many ways, it makes life a lot easier. And yes, I can work with anyone, anywhere. All I ask is that you're willing to do the work. You're not looking for a quick fix. And you're curious. You're curious about life, and you're curious about yourself. Yeah, for sure. And you are a heart-driven person. You want to leave your mark on the world. And you know what? You don't have to be Nelson Mandela. You don't have to be, whoever, Mahatma Gandhi. Each one of us, by virtue of walking outside every day, we interact with people. And it's about showing up in a way that leaves the mark you want to leave. How do you want to be remembered on your tombstone? That's really what it's about. And I don't care if it's just smiling to the cashier that you're dealing with. By doing that, you're acknowledging that you see them and they have value. Whatever your purpose is, whatever is that gift you want to give to the world, it's just about showing up. See, I believe that if I knew 30 years ago what I know now, that my career would have been completely different, and it would not have sucked my soul dry, because I would have shown up differently.
Totally, and I agree with you for that. But I know for me, I've got to go through that, whatever it is that does suck my soul dry, that does take me down the path that I'm not fulfilling my purpose, to realize that I'm not fulfilling my purpose, and to go back to find out what my purpose is. Which is now what your wonderful, gift and thing is now, that you're able to help other people, especially women who have, gone through that time of pleasing others, of being career focused. The wonderful thing, Krys, about, you sharing your story is that you've been there. You know what it's like to do it, to be career focused. And now it's turning it around. So that's why I really love, talking to you, because it's, you can help people go through the same thing and to come out the other side. It's
never too late. In fact, midlife is such a great time. It's not a crisis time. It's a time of opportunity. Moving forward, we are expected at around 55, 60 to exit stage left, become invisible. That's the end of it. But the reality is we have 20, 30 years of living to still do. And the great part is we have no milestones. There are no expectations. We get to do it our way, which is why this is such a great time to start asking the questions, at a time where we are wired, that it is absolutely universal that in midlife, we go through a slump where we start thinking about where we've been, and we start, feeling a few regrets, maybe wishing we'd done things differently. That's universal. That's been identified through studies. And instead of seeing it as a crisis and trying to go back to our youth, thinking that that's where we were happy, therefore that's what we need again, we get to look forward and create a life the way we want. It's an opportunity. So I love it. I think it's great. If you're chatting, you're
No, I muted myself because, as you know, I've got dogs in the background. So thank you for sharing that too, and and it's so true. It's so true. So if you could offer a tip to all the people in the world, especially all the women in the world who are now reaching, moving into the most wonderful time of their lives, quite possibly. It can be scary because, like yourself, you can realize that you've spent all this time being career focused and you've got nothing else. So if you could offer a tip of how can you go from being so career focused, so pleasing others or living the life for other people instead of yourself, to living your own life, to thriving in your own life?
As long as you look outward for validation, you are at everyone, what's the word I'm looking for? As long as you're looking outward for success and validation, it can be taken away from you. Look into your heart. No one can take that away. Viktor Frankl, right, who survived years in a concentration camp as a prisoner of the Nazis, attributes his survival in those conditions for having found meaning in his circumstances. Find your purpose in life and look forward, look ahead. Don't ever look back. Look ahead. This is a time of opportunity. And ask yourself, do you want to live one day knowing that you're pursuing your dreams, or do you want to live the rest of your life with regrets? Because even if my time is up in 5 minutes, I know that those 5 minutes were living my purpose. So that would be my message. It's never too late. My car crash happened when I was 48. I was in midlife. Are you going to wait for a car crash to force you to make choices?
Yeah.
Or are you going to do it on your own terms, on your own time? I think that's a much better option. Don't wait for a car crash.
No, please don't wait for a car crash.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to recover.
Yeah, it does. I don't like pain.
Yeah.
I can tell you that firsthand.
You've got to go through the recovery, and that's so much, and that's more time too.
And so it's not necessary. No. It's not necessary.
Yeah, it's just making that choice that, am I living my life for myself or am I living my life for other people?
And the answer is, am I enjoying life?
Yes.
If you're not enjoying life, what is the purpose?
Yes.
What's the purpose?
Yes.
Life has challenges, and life is meant to be enjoyed.
Totally agree.
I think that is the birthright.
Yes.
I think we have a birthright to living life, feeling alive and engaged in everything we do.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
Totally agree with you. Really, really agree with you. So thank you ever so much. Really, really thank you for coming in on and sharing your story, to sharing your journey, and I said I've done it before, but I'd like to honour you for helping others to find their purpose, to helping others to live a life that they want, to enjoy their life. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a beautiful day. And for everyone out there who is watching, also have a beautiful day. Do stick around. We will be putting Krys's links in the comments very, very soon. And thank you. Have a beautiful day.